Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Dr. Keitha Story-Stephenson on today's show.
Welcome to the show tonight. It's so exciting to have with me tonight a writer, an award-winning writer with 20 plus years of experience. She's got over 100 plus publishing credits to her repertoire, and she has covered a wide range of topics in her writing career. She's written in business-related fields. She's written in parenting, written in wellness, written in the news, and more and more and more. So it's very exciting. She's going to be able to take us anywhere we want to go. I'm very excited to welcome Charity Marie.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
We are honored to have you. As an award-winning experienced writer, what do you think is the key to good writing?
I think the key to good writing is to never stop learning. One of the things that I have learned over the course of my 20 years is that, if you look at literature throughout the history, it has continued to evolve and change. And even as recently as 50 years ago, we were changing the way we were telling stories. So if you are always trying to learn, your writing will always improve.
Excellent, excellent. What can you tell me in that good writing direction, a little bit about your background that opens the door to this success?
I was very fortunate to have a series of influences that changed my life. So I actually started off as a slow learner. I was held back in elementary school because of my birthday being in December. And so I had to wait an entire year. And then I got held back in kindergarten because I couldn't stop talking and sit in my seat, which hasn't changed much, to be honest. But in first grade, I was failing, and a retired teacher who was one of our neighbors took me under her wing and tutored me for about 2 years. And she taught me how to read, and she taught me how to do math, and most importantly, she taught me how to learn. And she gave me a foundation that has served me my entire life. Within 2 years, I was I was starting to enter middle school. I was doing spelling bees. And then as I progressed, by the time I had hit middle school, I was reading at a college level. By the time I hit high school, my 9th grade English teacher gave us an assignment to write our first short story, which I didn't write. I wrote more than the assignment required. It required 1 page. I did 14. And a writer was born in that moment. That English teacher recognized in me a passion for writing, and it's been that way ever since. I just can't seem to stop. I've got millions of stories to tell.
Well, that's excellent. I, as a retired school principal myself, the more a child reads, the better writer they'll be, and that's exciting. You were given that opportunity that was rare at that time in our history, and then we plugged it into public exposure in school, and we took off our hands, and as a result, it seems like our kids aren't reading it like they should, and that's going to harm the generation that has things to say. But tell me about your support team, because every good writer I've ever met has people around them and in them that are making a difference as far as that sense of support. You don't feel like the Lone Ranger behind the door, that you're all by yourself. It feels like there's someone you lean on. So is it family? Is it friends? Is it writing organizations?
It's a combination of all of the above, actually. First and foremost, at the front of the line is my husband. Whether it be financial support, emotional support, just cheerleading from the sidelines. He kind of covers all the bases. He's the person that's in my corner when I'm crying in my milk that says, you can do this, you got this, just keep going. And even after 20 years, I still go through those cycles. That does not change. It just continues. You learn to manage it better. And then I have my writing coach, who I've been with for over a decade now. He helps me with everything from that initial fleshing out of an idea to character to plot, you name it. We talk about it all when it comes to a story. He's the first person that I go to kind of flesh an idea out and make sure that it's fully realized. And his name is David Dewar. He's with Write by Night, a great organization out of New York. They actually started in Austin, and then they relocated to New York where they have family. I'm also a member for 13 years of a community called writing.com. I have a number of friends and fans on there that give me feedback and talk to me about writing, and it's a great community. It's excellent for new writers. You'll always find a welcome place there as a newer writer, lots of resources. And then there's an established, group of moderators and administrative people who make the whole thing run. It's a great site. That's writing.com. And then I have a series of writing beta readers that I use that are also close friends.
Oh, very good. So I think if that little stream of anxiety and fear is not there, then you get cold. Your interest drains, and it needs to be the input always of new energy.
I'm always scared. That never goes away.
That's okay. That's probably good news to our listeners tonight. Tell me about your newest book.
So my newest book is called Reflections, and it's actually for adults or advanced readers, but generally adults, just because there's some older themes in there that are probably more appropriate for 18 plus. It's a collection of short fiction and nonfiction from the course of my career that's been either previously published, award-winning, contest-winning, along with some newer pieces that I just haven't taken the time to really submit anywhere. And Reflections is about 115 or so pages, and it's what's kind of labeled a premium coffee table book. This is something that has exquisite artwork on the outside and the inside to go along with the written words. And it's something that you can enjoy yourself or give as a gift or share with family, friends, business coworkers. It can sit on a table in an office or on your coffee table or your nightstand. It'll fit in any of those locations.
Excellent. You've also got some new things I noticed in doing our research was your book, Most Wanted, which is a Josh McIntosh short story.
Jack McIntosh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then your children's series. You have the children's series, Jason and Lizzie's Legendary Adventures, and it's like a little repeat saga. What ages group is that written for?
So it's primarily written for 3rd grade and up, but I have readers of all ages who enjoy this story. I have grown adults who read it to their young children at 2 and up, and the adults fall in love with it just along with the kids. So it's a great series for kind of everybody. And
I love your illustrator.
Mikey Brooks is phenomenal. Partnering with him was the best thing I ever could have done.
That's wonderful. I talked with a children's author this week who had partnered for her trilogy, the end of her trilogy, with a new artist out of Germany, and is very excited too. It's hard to find all the right pieces and then lock.
He's actually the 5th illustrator I found. There were a couple of covers before we settled on this one with him. And from the very first mock-up that he did on the first book, I was blown away. And I was like, I have to have you. I don't care what it costs. I have to have you. Fortunately, he's very reasonably priced, so it worked out great.
Well, let's take a short break here and go out and talk to our sponsors so that we can keep doing these wonderful interviews with our artists. If you'll give us a sec, we're out.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmont.com.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's The Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti. And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then The Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story. And then Tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bame's books are available at B4R Store.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audio book is Love's Reality, and it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book, From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Dr. Keitha Story-Stephenson on today's show.
All right. Welcome back. We are with Miss Charity Marie, a good old Texas writer, and she's giving us the scoop on how to be that Texas writer, as well as what we can look forward to from her. Let's talk about your favorite genre that you write for, because you write for a wide span of ages, adult readers as well as children. What is your favorite?
I have had a lifelong love affair with fantasy ever since I started reading Terry Brooks as a kid. And then eventually I grew into Lord of the Rings and read that series of books multiple times as a young woman. And so a lot of my work, you'll find a lot of fantastical elements in it. And it's where I have the most creative reign. I am starting to branch out into more, suspense and thriller genres as a way of kind of expanding my product offerings. But fantasy is my love.
And it's another way for you to grow your audience. They've grown with you through their childhood on up. So that's
Absolutely
good. That's perfect. That's actually ideal. Tell
Absolutely.
me some words of advice you would have for a new author, a new writer.
I think one of the things that I would recommend for a new writer is to experiment. It never hurts to try new things. I know for me it took, about a decade before I really realized fantasy was where I loved to be. I read so voraciously across so many different genres that I tried to write that way too. And it took about a decade before I realized fantasy was where I really wanted to be. And it wasn't until I had finished the Terry Brooks series. I'd read, at the time, I think he had 18 or 20 books out, and I'd read all of them from the library. And I sat down one day and was like, I want to write something like this. And I came up with a book called Amulet of Zalia, which has never seen the light of day beyond my hard drive. But creating that world and creating those characters, that I just felt in my gut was where I needed to be. And then I could write other genres, but that would be my core.
Have you done, I noticed on your listing of everything you've done, when you do business writing or parenting classes or parenting information, are those done more to be informational rather than trying to tell a story about how to be a good parent? You're actually giving the nuts and bolts, that kind of thing?
I tend to do a little bit of both. So I do a lot of essays, and then I do a lot of nonfiction articles. And I use both to achieve the same goal, which is to reach adult readers. I also spent a number of years working as a Coldwell Banker blogger before I got my real estate license. Believe it or not, one led to the other, and it was the blogging that led to the real estate, not the other way around. You know, I write nonfiction to share information and to reach readers, and it just comes really naturally to me because I feel like there is a certain element of storytelling even in nonfiction. You know, to get that reader's interest in a nonfiction article, which usually is somewhere between 500, if you're lucky, and 2,000 words, that's hard to do. So it taught me how to write really tight nonfiction that then impacted my prose.
Do you think that working with that tight of a program, like a 500-word essay or an instructional piece, do you think that helps you as an author in a storytelling point of view, or it's just another feather in your hat?
I think it helps because it makes your mind make connections quickly. Mm-hmm. And it teaches you how to turn your thoughts into stories, how to put that structure together so that when you're writing longer works, that becomes easier, because scenes in a lot of cases are just mini stories. You know, you're painting a picture of what's happening in that scene. If you can write a 500-word essay, you can write a 500-word scene or a 1,500-word scene. That skill translates directly into longer works.
And that's how authors write. That's how they produce. That's how there's a bundle of information here, and the average person can't put it out, and have a dependency on people who can. So that's exciting, and it's a good training ground if you can narrow something that's into understandable language and narrow it down to a small format. That's, to me, that shows the depth of your writing ability, because there's a lot of folks out there, just because they published didn't mean they were writers, and they can ramble for years before they get to the point and they lose their readers. So tell me, going back to Jason and Lizzie, tell me what gave you the idea for that, because they were charming. When I was on the internet, I was reading the excerpts, and I just love the fact that you approach children's verbiage as if they could more maturely than just speaking down to them. So tell me how they came about.
It came about in a couple of ways. One of the big aspects that drove this was my daughter in the 2nd grade was diagnosed with dyslexia. We had suspected it from kindergarten because she was writing letters backwards. And her kindergarten teachers all said, oh, she'll outgrow that. It's a skill that develops over time and she just needs to keep practicing. Unfortunately, for a small percentage of those kids, that doesn't happen. And my daughter happened to be one. She also was having trouble with numbers. And because she was having trouble with both letters and numbers, I felt pretty convinced that dyslexia was at play. Yeah. And having grown up with a learning disability, even though it was undiagnosed for me, I felt pretty confident that she was likely to have one too. So we fought for 2 years with the school system to get them to acknowledge her and give her special education status. But in the meantime, I decided to write stories that would be appealing to her, that would encourage her to read. Because she would go to the library and she would get so discouraged, or she'd come home and she'd try to read and she'd throw a book across the room. I can't do this. I'm stupid. I hate reading. And so I wanted to give her something that was a special gift. And so the Jason and Lizzie series was born. It also happened that we were sitting around a Thanksgiving table around the time that this story came to be. And she was role playing with me because that was one of the things that we would do frequently. I was cooking and she said, Mom, I want to make you famous. What are you going to do to be famous? And I said, well, I'm going to be a writer, of course. And she said, well, what are you going to write about? And I said, well, it's almost Christmas time. So why don't I write about a snowman village in trouble? And just like that, the first book was born. And it just took off. And this whole cast of zany characters came to be, and that book changed my life. Really did.
it's a trilogy now, but I saw on the prospectus I was reading that you have some pending new episodes for the two.
I do, yeah, and it's going to go for as long as I can keep breathing new life into the series. I have so far I have 5 books planned with a possibility of a 6th, and as long as the series doesn't get stale and I can keep injecting new life and having new fun adventures, we'll keep going. As long as readers want to keep reading it, I'll keep writing them.
That's excellent. That's very excellent. There's a whole lot of information I want to get out.
Sure.
Where can we find you? Where can our listeners and viewers find you? Like an email address, and
Sure.
do they order from you? Do you have a web page? Could you give us that information?
Absolutely. So my writing home is charitymarie.com. And then I also have Facebook and Twitter pages. I'm on LinkedIn. You can order directly through my website. There's a shopping cart on there. Or you can order through one of my social media sites. You can just send me a direct message through one of those and just let me know what you'd like to order, and I can send you an invoice through PayPal and get you taken care of. So on Facebook, I'm author Charity Marie. On Twitter, I'm charity_Marie_. Somebody had already gotten Charity Marie, so I had to get a little creative, so that one's a little funny. And then I'm also on LinkedIn as well. If you search author Charity Marie.
Okay. Well, let's take a break for our sponsors and hop off here for a moment and get our business done.
Sounds good.
Publishing marketing package for authors. $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload to Ingram Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS, plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details or bourgeoismedia.com.
Hi, I'm Mel Greenberg, author of Running with Our Eyes Closed, book 1 in the Empty Nested series. To the world, Samantha has the perfect life. 3 wonderful children, a loving husband, so she thought, and a life split between Dallas and Italy. When her youngest leaves for college, it all comes crashing down, forcing Samantha to re-examine everything. Over 7 days in one of the most romantic countries in the world, Samantha faces the past she thought she'd overcome and begins to redefine her role as a woman, a wife, and a mother.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canyon, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Dr. Keitha Story-Stephenson on today's show.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to our interview with Charity Marie. We're finding out all kinds of information. We're finding out about her products and the things that are available, and also getting a writing lesson. And that's always exciting, always. And why not get it from the person who's doing it right? So that's even better. Now, who all is carrying your book? I know you've got it at Amazon and Kindle.
Yes, it's Amazon and Kindle, and then also Ingram Spark carries it as well, which I believe causes it to be available at a lot of online retailers like Walmart, Barnes and Noble.
Some Goodreads.
Yeah, Goodreads has it. Books A Million, I think, might, if there's a Books A Million in your area. I know those aren't everywhere.
No, we're too far out in the country. Okay. In addition to what we've talked about, as far as the things that you have written and have out there already, let's talk about what's up and coming and pending. You touched briefed on the Jason and Lizzie's trilogy as it stands now. Tell me a little bit more about those extra new stories, and
Sure.
then we're going to look at the other things that are pending, and we'll close out with the reflections, because I really want some adult readers to come flocking to you.
So coming out very soon will be How to Adopt a Dragon, which is a epic fantasy. It's going to be the first in a trilogy. And book 2 in that series is underway. Then comes Jason, Lizzie, and the Luckless Leprechauns, which is book 3 of the Jason and Lizzie series. Book 4 in that series should come out sometime next spring, and it's Jason, Lizzie, and the Dark Fairies. That'll be followed by Cherry Blossom Tree, which is a novella about modern day Japan, Tokyo, Japan. And then after that will be Most Wanted, which is a suspense thriller series featuring Jazz McIntosh as the main character. She's a CIA spy. She goes on a series of interesting adventures. And then at some point, I'm not exactly sure when yet, comes my Angel Deveron trilogy, which has been in the works for over a decade.
You are a very busy lady.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Tell me, when we talk about reflections, just so that our viewers understand, as a literal adult presentation, it seems out of sync to your children's books. So your readers are growing with you. Tell me how it will introduce a new person to you.
So a new person that's an adult will enjoy these as a standalone. It's kind of going to give them a taste of my writing for adults, and it's going to be a precursor for my Most Wanted series and for my Angel Deveron series, which are both adult series, and also give them a good taste before How to Adopt a Dragon comes out, which is written for kind of preteens and teens, but would be appropriate for older audiences as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, there's so much to look forward to. I'm thrilled that you're giving life to essays. I was afraid it had passed on with Ben Franklin, and I thought, no, we need more essays. We need to state the facts. And your ability to transcend the genres, the different age groups that are out there, the different types of books, is reflective in your talent. So we as readers, thank you for that. It's just very exciting where you're going, what you're doing with it. It's just all thrilling to me. It's just an amazing thing. I'm also a writing coach, and I see it, and sometimes it's not there. Most people. All right. Anything else you'd like to add tonight?
Just subscribe on my website so that you can get all the information about upcoming releases as they happen. I don't ever spam, so you're free to subscribe and you'll get notifications a couple times a year. Very good. As busy as you are, we need a newsletter to keep us on track. That's right. I appreciate and thank you for gracing us with your time and your energy and your excitement over I hear your passion over what you get to do. It's almost like, hey, I like this so much, I would pay to get to do it. And so that is exciting. So I wish you well. I know my viewers are going to be excited that they can go on, enter Charity Marie, get up-to-date information on how to make the contact. Give them the email on the fastest email that gets direct to you. authorcharitymarie@gmail.com. All right. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And we appreciate all you're doing. Thank you. To make this career exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, produced by Biala Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC. Copyright 2021. Voiceover by Biala Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please email us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please complete the form found on our website at indiebeacon.com. You may also watch previous year's shows on the website. Music is Frolic of Words, created for Indie Beacon